Let's go.
This is turning into one of the weirdest shows I've ever done. It really is.
Catch me if you can, goddammit. Catch me if you can. You hear me?
Will Noonan's so funny and I'm after him, so I guess I'm after Noonan.
You're listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That's me coming at you right now from Boylston Street, Boston, Massachusetts, one of the busiest streets in the whole fucking city. I'm right outside of the Heinz Convention Center. I'm parked on a street corner near McGreevy's Pub where I'm about to do a show with the great McGreevy's boys. And I'm also parked in such a way where everyone who stops at this stoplight, you know, which should be like every fucking minute, is going to be stopping right next to my car, right next to my passenger window, looking right in on me recording this podcast from about 4 inches a fucking way. So this episode of Hypothetically is more like an episode of the Today Show where, you know, just on the other side of this glass, there's some motherfucking fans who don't even know they're fans. They're just like, who's this dude sitting inside this sweet fucking Honda with headphones on, speaking into an H4n recorder? That's me, Will Noonan. That's who it is, motherfuckers. So where have I been? Living my life. I put out 3 HP crossovers all on the same day. That's what I was doing during that time. Of course, I was doing a bunch of stand-up. It was the holiday season. And, you know, I was a busy fucking boy. So I had all these HP crossovers. I was going to put them out slowly, and then I forgot. So I put them out all in one day in sort of an HP crossover fucking comedy festival. So I hope you enjoyed those. I enjoyed doing each and every one of those shows. Thank you, Don, Zolo, Nick Crowley, and the South Shore Boys for having me on and letting me use them as HP crossovers and help both of our shows grow and all that shit. But it was cool to do those fucking shows. Really love those guys. And I figure, what the fuck? It's like, it's the same deal pretty much. Other than Nick's podcast, like if I had them on here or I go on there, the conversation's only going to be slightly different in one direction or the other. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed those shows. If you skip the HP crossovers because you're like, this isn't Will's podcast and I don't like it, don't do that. They're fun. Go check them out. And also subscribe to those podcasts because most of the people, you know, a lot of those podcasts are Boston area podcasts and they got my homies as guests. And we got a great fucking comedy scene here in Boston, man. And come check us out. But more on that to come. I've had some cool things happen in the past few weeks. So I got a full itinerary of shit to talk to you guys about. And a couple fucking weird opinions about comedy and things like that. I'm trying to minimize the heat noise, but I gotta have the heat on in the car right now. It's so fucking cold lately. I mean, New Year's Eve was one of the coldest New Year's Eves I've ever worked. I was with the lovely Christine Hurley and Drew Dunn out in Dedham, and we did a show, and it was just so fucking cold. I've been wearing, like, long johns underneath my jeans more often than not for over a month. Single digits. As you know, if you're a human being, you know. The East Coast just been hit. Midwest, East Coast, hit with some cold-ass fucking weather. So I can't do anything about that. As far as the heater goes in the car. And also this heater named Will, who's talking to you right now about stand-up comedy. So biggest thing that's happened to me since we talked was that I did a show with Bill Burr, you know, the comedian. One of the biggest, one of the best. So if you're a listener of the podcast for a long time, you know my long history with Burr is like as a fan, just loving the guy. But before he was famous, I'd seen him do comedy many, many times. Before he was a big star, growing up in Boston and then going to college in New York when I was 18, saw a lot of Burr and Patrice O'Neal before they were stars, and always considered myself privileged to get to see all those fucking really small shows with those guys. Also, A ton of other guys too that were there, but those are the ones that stick out the most in my memory. But also seeing Burr over the years obviously grow into the big star that he is, and I hung out with him for like a couple hours a few years ago when I was I'm a much newer comic than I am now, and it was cool and everything like that, but I was terrified to even be in his presence, right? So fast forward to now, and Burr just decided, I guess he was coming home for the holidays. That makes sense, right? Yes, it does. So, that was horrible. That was, I said, yes, it is, like that because I had coffee in my mouth. I apologize for the shitty vocal experimentation. They can't all be winners. I'm a little rusty. We're getting back into it. So, Burr just tweeted. He asked Ryan Cott, books the club, hey, would it be cool if I came by Nick's and did a spot tonight? Course, right? But normally when guys do that, they just fucking they just show up, Burr's smart enough and cool enough. He finds out who's headlining, which is Tom Dustin, who everyone loves and Burr knows and stuff. And then he tweets, I'm doing a spot on the Tom Dustin show at Nick's Comedy Stop tonight. And, also, I love Nick's Comedy Stop. I recorded my last CD there. It's my favorite club in the world. It's like story, and I'm always glad Burr loves it. The only good part of our conversation a couple years ago was him asking me about Nick's, and you could tell he's got a lot of love for Nick's Comedy Stop. The only good part is by that I mean the only part where I came off as anything other than like, duh, big fan, Bill, big fan. So, anyway, I'm not on Nick's, I'm not on these Tom Dustin shows, but I see, I'm sitting there with Nick Crowley, actually. We were recording that episode of the podcast, and we had just finished, and he's like, people are saying Bill Burr's going to be at Nick's tonight, and I'm like, what? So then I look at my Twitter, and everyone's talking about it on Twitter, so I'm like, fuck. So I text Ryan Cott, and I'm like, hey, man, can I come by tonight and watch this? He's like, fuck yeah. I was like, I gotta see this, He's like, fuck yeah, come by. So, for, just, this will be important later, but I thought that was like standard what you should do. Like, text the dude at the club, is there gonna be room to come hang out? I know he's gonna be, he's like, yeah, come on down, right? So, I'm just excited to go see Bill Burr do stand-up one more time. I've seen him a bunch and I've seen him a bunch of times, but last few times I've seen him have been in huge theaters. I'm like, oh, this will be great to go see Bill Burr at Nick's Comedy Stop where I perform all the time. But I'm not expecting to weasel my way onto the show because, they already have a full show booked and they're adding one guy who happens to be a famous legend in the making. So why not, they're not going to have time for new people. So I'm going there to I got the night off anyway. I'm like, let's go watch Bill Burr's new shit. Can't wait to see it. I'm super psyched, right? So excited that I smoke a bunch of weed before I go, which I never do when I'm doing stand-up. I know a lot of you guys think I'm high all the time, which, I wish I was. And some days I am. But usually when I'm on stage doing stand-up, I'm actually not high. I'm usually sober. Sometimes I smoke weed in the afternoon when I have a show that night, but I don't fucking smoke right before I go on. Just because I want to be, sharp. It's work for me. I want to do the best job I can for you guys in the crowd. So sometimes open mics, little things here and there, I'll be stoned. But for the most part, 99% of the time, if you see me on stage doing stand-up, I'm not stoned or anything. I'm just sober. But to watch stand-up, I don't give a fuck. I don't need any of that. So I smoke a bunch of weed, get myself a big-ass iced coffee, and head on over to Nick's Comedy Stop, right? And, of course, Nick's Comedy Stop is like a buzz with activity. And there's shitloads of comedians there. A lot of open mic, newer, like, non-professional kind of comedians, and a lot of comedians, some local headliners. Like, I think there are, probably 60 to 75 people in the comedy scene on some level or another at this thing. Maybe not when I showed up, but as the night went on and stuff like that. So Burr eventually shows up, and he comes in. He doesn't recognize me from the one time he's met me, so I'm not like, and I'm not offended by that because I didn't expect it. And his brothers are there and stuff because he is in town to see family. So they go upstairs, and then I go up to the showroom, and I just am standing by the bar talking to my good friend, comedian Trisha Alt, who's fucking hilarious, and she's there to see Burr too. We're all excited, and we're just shooting the shit. And then Ryan walks by, and he's like, "Hey, Noonan, you're going to do 10 right after the host." And I'm like, "Cool, no problem." And as soon as he walks away, I'm talking to Trisha, and she's like saying something, but it was like a movie where it's like, wah, 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 wah. Because in my head, I'm just like, okay, you're doing a set in front of Bill Burr right now in a few minutes. So I even said to her, I was like, I need to go start thinking now because, I don't get nervous to do stand-up comedy, and especially at Nick's Comedy Stop. I love that place, and I feel very comfortable there. And this part might be very easily understood by some of you and hard to understand for some of you. So I don't know. I'll do my best. But I normally don't smoke weed before I do stand-up. And there's a reason for that. Because I'm sharper when I don't smoke weed, right? So now I'm sitting here and I'm like, fuck, we got a sold-out, packed, awesome Nick's Comedy Stop. The crowd is fired up because they're Bill Burr fans. And he's doing this secret thing. And it's sold out and everything. And I'm going to get the show started right after the host. And Burr's going to be on like one comic after me. And he's probably going to see my set. So, I won't sort of pump this up for the podcast and make it seem like I really freaked out. Like I panicked or I had some sort of even real anxiety about it. I didn't. I won't pump this up for you guys and make it out like that. But I will say that in that moment of maybe the minute 30 seconds after Ryan was like, "You're gonna do a spot," I had to swallow some fear. That's the truth. I had to be like, my first thought that popped into my head was like, oh, fuck, you're high, you're about to do comedy high, which you never do, and the stakes are that Bill Burr's watching. You're one of your favorite comedians and probably biggest influences, too, if you're going to be honest. So I was like, fuck. But then I just went, nah. Like, I thought about it for another 10 seconds, and I was like, nah, I'm a pro stand-up, and I've done these jokes a lot. I'm not going to go up there and show him my new stuff anyway, so fuck it. It's going to be fine, right? Let's just have fun. I think I was only doing like 7 minutes or 10 minutes or something. Sip of water for the working man. Guy parked right next to me. He's wondering what's going on, but he'll only be there for another 30 seconds, so who cares? Bye, buddy. There he goes. Zoom. So, like, that's pretty much the story, I guess. But I noticed, I was like, as the show got started and the host, Ted Pettingale, was doing his thing, and I'm standing there waiting to go on, I noticed that I felt differently than I normally do when I'm going on stage at Nick's, because this time I'm fucking baked, and I'm like realizing how much coffee I've drank. I look down, like my hands are kind of shaking from the coffee. But at this moment, Burr's in the back, like, talking to Ryan and his brothers and shit. So I'm like, oh, maybe he won't even watch me. But then, like, 2 seconds later, he comes out and sits in a chair, like, to the side of the stage where you can see the show. So I'm like, well, fuck it, right? And that's when you just go, confident in my comedy. Either he likes it or he doesn't. And also, this is what I love about what I do, what I love about stand-up. I don't want Burr to see me have a good set because I think he's going to give me a TV show, or I think he's going to take me on the road, or I think he's going to ever give me anything. That is not even 1% of the reason why I want to have a good set in front of Bill Burr. The reason why I want to have a good set in front of Bill Burr is because he's one of the best at this thing that we do, and I want him to know that I'm all right too. It's a pure motherfucking, like, playground basketball. Like, all right, I just want to show you what I can do, dude. Like, because you're one of the masters of this shit. And I kind of just want, it's like kung fu or any of those things. It's not about money or fame in this night. It's about, hey man, like, you're from this city, you left and did awesome things. Like, let me show you guys that we're still holding it down a little bit here. Those are the stakes. Pure comedy. I want to kill so I can have, you know, so this dude who I admire can just nod, you know, just satisfactory. And I kind of focused on that. I was like, that's the beautiful thing about this. This night is important to me, but not for the reasons a lot of nights are often important to me in stand-up, you know? Like, because if I have a good set tonight, I might get this deal. Or if I have a good set tonight, I might get this new agent. Or if I have a good set tonight, you know, we're taping, so, like, I need to have a good set tonight because we're recording. You know, all those things are different. This was just this pure sort of, I just want to have a good set tonight because I want this fucking dude who I admire comedically to think that I'm okay. That's all I really want out of this fucking thing. So it was fucking cool, right? So I go up and, you know, I felt the weed for like maybe 30 seconds up there, 35 seconds. I won't lie to you guys. I felt the weed for like 30, 35 seconds. I'm getting into my shit. I'm kind of like, ugh, feeling a little bit out of it, out of body, a little bit sleepy, dreamy kind of through the eyes, you know. But then I just sort of, you know, it's comedy. It's what I do. I just fucking found my footing. And then I was like, oh, I'm so comfortable. I'm more comfortable on stage at Nick's Comedy Stop than I am at home, you know, on my fucking toilet probably. I love that place. Fucking love Nick's Comedy Stop. So the set goes great, and this is fast forward a little bit. I'll come back, but fast forward to a little bit later. Comics are so great because between Matt Brown, Zolo, a few other people who I'm friends with, they were there, and they were like watching Burr watch me, and they were like taking notes. Between like 5 or 6 people told me like, Burr loved your shit, and he laughed here, 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 here. Like they told me, Peter Martin, they would tell me like the exact points Burr was laughing. And almost between everyone, I almost got an entire, it was like I got to watch Bill Burr watch the set because they all told me like what points he laughed at. And I actually did hear him laugh a couple times while I was on stage. So that's a great feeling. I can add that to the list of crazy, fucking amazing heroes that I've made laugh. I've made Stephen Wright laugh. I've made Artie Lang and Kumia laugh. I've made DePaulo laugh, Attell laugh, and now I've made Burr laugh. That's pretty sweet. You know, I think I'm even leaving some out. But those are some of the ones I really remember. And so I'm feeling good up there anyway. I'm like, I'm having a good set. And I got a couple jokes that I'm actually proud of now. So I'm like, I hope Burr likes them. And I guess he did. So that was great, right? So I find out all that stuff later, though, because when I got off stage, the energy in that room was so good. Like, fucking, because the crowd was so excited because they knew Bill Burr was there, that it just had this super heightened positive energy of, this is a secret show. We're all kind of in on this little secret right now. And that's cool. And we're part of something. And it was just a fun sort of guerrilla, old school kind of night. And, you know, Tony V was there to do a spot. Great friend of Bill Burr's and great fucking friend of this podcast and of mine, and another dude I really admire and been lucky enough to make laugh a few times. And, you know, his podcast, Two Boston Guys, with Tony V and Jimmy Dunn. And so I'm looking at the lineup, and I'm like, all right, it's like Ted Pettengill, me, Peter Martin, Tony V, Bill Burr, Matt Miller, Tom Dustin. So I'm just like, it's a great fucking show. So I get off stage, and I take about 3 fucking steps and just pull up my fucking bottle of water and my stool, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching. Because I'm still fucking high. I'm like, fuck it. my work's done. Now it's time to do what I came here to do, which is sit back, relax, and enjoy this awesome fucking comedy show, right? So Peter Martin goes up and does like a hot 3. And I think this is like, I got to give you props, Peter Martin. The dude knows how much time is passing during a comedy show. And I did go over the light. I did blow my light by like a minute and 30 seconds. And it was because my closer was going well and I was kind of bathing in it a little bit, which, not cool. Not the coolest move in the world, but I honestly didn't know I was doing it until it was over. But Pete actually knew that and deducted. He was going to do 5. He deducted the 2 that I fucking did out of it and actually left 30 seconds out and got off early. So Pete just went out and was like, bang, 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 bang. That's one of my theories. The other theory is that Pete was thinking the same thing I'm thinking, which was, Burr's watching me. I'm doing good. Get out of here before something bad happens. I did have that thought like a few times when I was up there. But I just was like, fuck it. We're seeing this through to the end. So I'm enjoying it. I'm sitting there maybe 5 feet away from the microphone watching the show. Maybe 7 feet from the microphone watching Peter kill. And then Tony V goes up there, who I fucking get to see all the time. But like I said, you get these nights in comedy where things are fucking magical and like you finally are feeling the vibe and things are just, really fun and really good. And those are like the best nights. So you kind of want to savor them, I've kind of learned at this point to like really enjoy those nights and just don't take them for granted, Sip of coffee. So I'm just leaning against the bar. Peter Martin, I think, is to my right. And, Tony V's up there, and then Burr goes up. And it was, first of all, a great set. Like I said, the last few times I've seen Burr, I've been seeing him from pretty far away in these big-ass fucking theaters. So it was cool to see him in the small club, my home club, and I'm watching from one of my favorite spots, which is just the bar near the stage, just from the side. I'm just watching this dude. He's got these bits. They're like 90% done, maybe. I don't fucking know. I'm guessing, but they're almost there. You can tell he's like tweaking them a little here and there, trying some things, but mostly done. They're funny as fuck. And I'm a little baked, but I just got to be kind of present in the moment. I just watched, and I was so fucking entranced by this dude doing stand-up, which is the sign of a really good stand-up. You just can't stop looking. Norm Macdonald, Chris Rock, Bill Burr, Dave Attell. When these guys are talking in a room, you just like can't even fucking take your eyes off, or at least I can't, right? And then he finishes up. I wish I could tell you the bits. Not even gonna tell you the fucking premises or the topics, but it's when it comes out, it'll be so fucking good. But enjoy the shit out of it, right? And then he comes off stage. He walks by me. I noticed before he went on stage. I did notice he came out into the room where the main show was. There's not really like a dressing room at Nick's anymore. So he came out into the main room, and he was kind of, for a celebrity dude, especially a hometown celebrity dude, he was kind of in the open, right? But I noticed his fans were being very good about leaving him alone. Local Boston comedians, not as much, especially some of the open micers were kind of bugging him, I noticed, before the show. But like I said, I was trying to give the dude a wide fucking berth, because from hanging around him one time, I got the feeling he doesn't really enjoy fools sort of jibber-jabbering in his face about how much they love him. It's just not one of those guys who enjoys that much. So I kind of just gave him his space, but and plus Matt Miller's on after, but Burr was basically leaving. He was not. Him and Tony V had some plans to go hang out, and he wasn't in it with his brothers and stuff, and he wasn't necessarily there to just fucking watch the whole show and stuff. So there was like this commotion while Matt Miller's on after Burr, and it wasn't just comics, but it was mostly comics. So anyway, I take this opportunity to kind of take a piss and go grab a drink of water from the bar, and I walk over to the back of the room, and I'm standing with Zach Brazow, and at some point while I like walked from the bathroom to where Zach Brazow was standing at the back of the room, at some point there, Burr started to leave, right? And I honestly didn't know what was going on, but there was like this hub of activity, which I found out later was a group of young open mic type comics from Boston asking Bill Burr 4 things. Take a selfie with me, be on my podcast, do my show, do my small bar show. Like, they were hitting him up with all kinds of requests, and I guess it was kind of out of control. I didn't see much of this myself, but I did hear all about it for the next week or so from comics and bookers and people who work at the club. There were a lot of people who were extremely upset. I don't want to talk for other people, but there were some people high up in comedy who were like, who had let in all these fucking open micers and were like, Jesus Christ, this is not a good look. Like, the fans are leaving him alone and the fucking comics are up his ass. So I'm standing there with Zach, and it's like this tornado's going by us real slow. The way I've been describing it to people is, you ever see like an old cartoon when there's a fight, like Peanuts or the Smurfs or something, there's a fight, and like to show the fight, they just show like a cloud of dust, and there's like every now and then like an arm or a leg will stick out, and it's just like a cloud of dust kind of moving, and every now and then something will come out of it. That's what it was like when Burr was leaving, and I'm sitting there with Brazow sort of half watching it, and Burr actually pops out of this fucking mayhem and sticks his hand out. Honest to God, I didn't even know who it was for a second, because he had a hat on, and he's like, hey man, to me, shakes my hand, he's like, good set, really funny shit, man, good stuff, really funny shit. But I also, like, literally while he's saying this, people are like taking fucking pictures with them and going like, Bill, and not people from the crowd, comics. And and then he kind of had the vibe of like, hey man, good set, I gotta get the fuck out of here, right? So I was kind of like, wow, I wish maybe those people weren't up his ass, so maybe we could have had a little more of a conversation than just that shit. I saw Peter Martin. I heard later that Peter Martin got pretty much like the same type of thing from Burr, which is awesome. But it was a little bit embarrassing as a Boston comedian to sort of see what went down that night. I mean, I don't want to be old man fucking Noonan or grandpa comedy, but I've been doing this shit now a long time. I just had my 11-year anniversary, so I'm in year 11. January 7th is where I put it. I don't know the exact day, but it was the first week of January, so I just go with that one. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of fucking bummed out by it. It wasn't about, I found out later that a lot of these comics who were bugging him super hard were texting during his set, looking at Facebook, looking at their phones, taking pictures. It's like, watch this shit while you have the opportunity. Bill Burr does not come to Nick's Comedy Stop and do fucking sets very fucking often, and I'd be surprised if he ever does again after this fucking clusterfuck of shit that was happening to him on his way out. It was kind of fucked up. So I don't know what to really say about it, but I was thinking back through the years I've been doing comedy, and act like you've been there when you're around these guys, because it's not, I don't know, it's just, why separate ourselves that much by lowering yourself to like the level of a fan, And I really want to put a stop to this whole fucking comedy is like a community. It is a community, but you know what? It's a community based around a job, which is comedian, which is a trade. And if you don't give a fuck about that, if you don't give a fuck about being a good comedian or fucking working, or if you don't give a fuck about even being funny, just get the fuck out of here. I don't care if you're sad and you're a nerd and you think this is the only fucking place for you. This whole shit, podcasts like this one probably have, people think now just because they're anxious and lonely and have a sad life that they'll make great comedians. It's like, that's just the beginning, motherfucker. You gotta fucking write jokes. You gotta fucking entertain these people. You gotta be fucking funny. And that night, you could really see the difference between people who were fucking serious about comedy and there to learn, and the people who are there because they want to get a fucking picture for Facebook and get some likes. And I realize that sounds so unbelievably pretentious and kind of like, why can't you do both? Why can't you be there to learn and also get some Facebook likes? Because fuck you. Because that's not what you're doing. And there was some real unprofessional type shit happening there. And I know I'm not the only one who saw it, because a lot of comedians have been talking about it, and it was a couple weeks ago. And I'm just so sick of this aspect of comedy right now. You know, I've been hitting a lot of shows because I'm trying to fucking write new shit and put out a new album. And the talent level of open mic comedy right now is there's some really smart kids and some really like good performers, but the fucking like sameness and the lack of originality is a little bit sad. Like, it's just every comic walks out and just goes, I'm depressed, I'm trans, I'm not trans, that's not really a good example, but everyone's just telling you what their big problem is. You know, I'm depressed, I have OCD, I work like at a job I hate. I don't know, that's not a good example either, but it's just, I've just noticed I'm hearing the same bits over and over again, and they're not really about making the crowd laugh. They're more about making the crowd kind of think, isn't the way I look at my life in this pathetic manner kind of funny? Do you feel bad for me? Do you accept me? It's just weird. It's just fucking weird. You know? Comedy is getting real weird, man. I just don't understand it. The beauty of stand-up is that it's a community. I do enjoy that about Boston, that you know, it's a small kind of group of stand-ups, but it's gotten a little bit crazy with who considers themselves a stand-up comic and how they behave. Because what I saw with a lot of these people and Bill Burr it's not about, I want to meet this great comic, like, and just be in his presence. It's like Bill Burr's made of gold, right? And what they want to do is just chip off a little bit of that gold for themselves. You know? Like, take a picture with me so I can put it on Facebook and look like I'm hanging out with you a lot. Do my podcast so my podcast can become much more popular. Do my show so we can add that to the list of cool like shit that goes on at my shows. It's not at all... There's no humbleness in it at all. It's all like, let me get a little bit of what you've worked hard for, because that'd just be really cool of you. You know, just do the right thing and give me a little bit because you have so much. And it seemed to me that they were almost... Burr was trying to get out of that comedy club like a dude who was almost like a fucking beetle getting pieces of his clothes ripped off by fans. It was like people just wanted a piece of that dude, comedians, you know? And I just thought that was kind of fucked up and sad. You know, this dude comes home to see his family on Christmas, goes back to his favorite comedy club where he probably has all these memories of being a up-and-coming comic, and it's just like, oh, great, I'm just a famous dude who people want to take a picture with, just like I am at every comedy club, like the Irvine Improv and fucking Phoenix. It's just the same everywhere, you know? So I was kind of bummed. I know that's kind of a sad way to look at it, I guess, but it was... I mean, personally, had a great fucking night. It was one of the highlights of my year, but it was just kind of like, a lot of people have been talking about what happened and how people behaved with Burr's, during Burr's set and before and after, because a lot of people saw a lot of different things, and it was just like, holy shit, who's in this stuff to be a good fucking funny comic, and who's just a fucking wants to be famous and is an idiot, you know? It was all right there. Hold on a sec, I see how much time I got. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, we got plenty of time left. Well, I'm going to skip around a little bit. Let's keep it comedy because I've been working with some fucking cool fucks. I got a couple gigs coming up with Gary Gulman at the beginning of February up in New Hampshire. So come on, check those out up in New Hampshire. But it's me, Mike McDonald, fucking Sean Sullivan, Gary Gulman. It's gonna be some great shows. But I also saw Gary at the Burren here in Somerville, Massachusetts. We had a hell of a night at the Burren, motherfuckers. An exciting, fun night at the Burren. It had the same level of excitement as that Bill Burr night, actually. It was right up there. Good lineup, full crowd. Special guest Gary Gulman coming by. And everyone's just easy breezy Japanesey. So that was a fun night for me in a lot of ways because I go to first show I did was at the Savin Hill Kitchen. Eric Taylor and Laura Saversa's show there. They have mic problems there, but it ends up being fun doing a show with no mic. It's a small enough place where you can do it. So that ended up being fun. Had a good set there. Get in my car, drive to Somerville, and I'm doing the Burn with all my buddies. Dan Crone, Dan Bulger, all the Dan Hall, all the Dans were there. Dylan, Artie, just all the people I like to see. Tons of people there hanging. So I go there, go up, have a good set, and then Gulman comes in, and it was just great to see him. He's one of the fucking, he's just as good as Burr when it comes to like, when it comes to stand-up comedy. I was watching him. I was thinking about it because in the past month I've seen the past 2 months I've seen Chris Rock, Bill Burr, and Gary Gulman. There's some 3 heavy fucking hitters. And Gulman, not as big a star as those other 2 guys, but if you ask me, or ask a lot of people, when it comes to actually writing the material and what the jokes are, it's just Gary's right there. His fucking material. Sometimes I wonder if Gulman's kind of like a comic in some ways because his bits are so funny to comedians because we write comedy. So we're like, oh my God, that is so... Like, he's doing triple backflips right now. Like, do you realize what he's doing? But we write comedy. Sometimes I think for the regular Joe asshole out there, it can be a little bit more of a... It can be a little bit more of like this guy's funny, but he's a little subdued. They're not necessarily seeing how good he is. You kind of have to be pretty fucking smart sometimes to really love a Gulman bit, but not always. But I think he's one of those guys who's just one of the most underrated comedians by the average Joe. By comedians, he's up there. He's highly, highly rated. But by the average Joe, he's kind of like, yeah, Dane Cook's friend, Gary Gulman. But he's so fucking funny. And great guy to hang out with, and I'm psyched to be working with him soon. But so that was a fun time. Fight broke out between 2 comics at that show. I won't say who they are, but I will say it was stupid, and I broke it up a little bit. I don't think it was it was a comedian fight, which means fists were probably never gonna be thrown, but there was a lot of yelling, and it was right during Tyler Swain's set. South Shore boy Tyler Swain, and it was an interracial fight, a white man and a black man. That doesn't factor in at all, I guess, but I just like to paint somewhat of a picture for you guys, a colorful picture. Here comes Joe Quayle. He's walking by my car, but I don't think he sees me in it. But anyway, I got my friend out of the room. I broke up the fight. Here's a hypothetical for you guys on Hypothetically. I broke up the fight and escorted one of them out of the room. Who did I protect? The white man or the black man? Bum, 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 bum. The black man. It's mostly about height. The white man was much taller And I was like, let me get this dude out of here. So he's actually a good friend of mine. So I was like, hey, let's get out of here. And we were talking in the hallway. But it had been a really long time. I'm talking maybe a decade, maybe 10 years since I'd talked someone down from a fight, you know? And I lost some of my skill for it, and I lost all of my enthusiasm for it. I was like, come on, man, come on, let's not do this. Let's just go. Let's not fight or talk about fights. But, excuse me, I gotta stretch. But, yeah. It was an exciting night. So then after that, a bunch of comedians and a couple other people who aren't comedians, we were all smoking weed in my car, and super fun. Out until 3 or 4 in the morning that night, hanging out doing comedy stuff, and it was just a great time. So just want to thank all the great people in my life who are just making 2018 such a swell year already. You know, guys. Just trying to get happy there, because I'm about to get angry because, well, not angry, but I had this tweet recently where I was talking about hold on a sec. I had this tweet I was surprised people really liked or got a lot of attention. I was shocked by this. But I had a tweet where I was like, every time I unfollow a comedian I used to love or I love, makes me feel sad. And got a lot of retweets, a lot of hearts, a lot of comments. People want to know who it was and what it was or whatever. And I think the reason why it got so much attention is because people are also feeling the same way. People are also losing, dropping people they love every day for different reasons on social media, or unfollowing people for different reasons on social media. And mine was, I'm not going to say who it was because I'm hoping to maybe follow again in a year. Or I didn't unfollow, I muted. And this particular comedian, I'm hoping in a year or so will regulate and be back to normal. But I think I get it. I think it's a reaction to these trying times, difficult times in America right now, uncertain times. People are scared. I get it. I fucking get it. But some people are reacting to this difficulty in time by maybe overreacting to certain things and just being lame. Just being fucking lame. And I'm hoping it passes with time. But I heard some shit. Sometimes I'll read some shit. It's social justice-y type shit. And I'm not saying that there's no, that I've always said people should be good to one another. People should be good to one another, child. People should be good to one another. I'm not a fan of dickheads or assholes. But I don't think it's a man-woman thing, and I don't think it's a race thing, and I've said it many times. I think there's dickheads, assholes in all groups, all camps. And this whole war on men or war on whatever right now is dangerous territory because it's filled with minefields and segregation, right? So I heard about this show in LA where comedians, it's an open mic, open mic night. Comedians show up, new comedians learning how to be comedians show up, and they do jokes, If you're not familiar with an open mic, you show up, this place is usually like 50, 60, 70 comics there. You sign up on a list, and everyone gets 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes, and you just go through the list. And then you could be your first time, you could be doing it for 10 years, doesn't fucking matter, but it's usually brand new fucks and people who've been doing it under 2 years. And they're working it out 4 minutes at a time. It's not an easy way to grow as a comedian. You're not growing super fast because you're not getting in front of real crowds, and it's hard. It's hard, but it's a great place to learn the fundamentals of stand-up and to test out jokes on like a very base level. And they're obviously great for when you first start because it's all you can get, right? There was a episode of this podcast a little while back where I was angry that a dude had been banned from open mics here because his act was loud and racist. Sort of a character, I would say. And while I don't agree with racist sentiments, I also don't agree with censoring comics, especially satire type comics, or also just censoring comics, especially at open mic level, because this is where people need to sort of step in shit to know what it smells like, like you're a baby, and sometimes a baby needs to burn itself so it realizes the radiator is hot. That's what open mics are for, to learn about the sharp corners of comedy in a safe environment. That's what open mics are for, right? So there's this show in LA where the host of it, or the person that runs the show, is listening to every single comic, and if he or she feels they get into topics that are sexist, transphobic, misogynistic, racist, and a litany of other things, this host / runner of the show will light the comedian and end their time on stage at that second. And basically, when you get the light, it means get the fuck off. So you could be up there trying a joke, you're working out, and if the person who runs the open mic decides in their head that it's sexist, transphobic, or whatever, they're going to kick you off stage. And I just think that's so fucking fucked. That is some Fahrenheit 451. Like, who the fuck are you to decide what this work in progress, what this fucking comedy joke in progress is all about, in deciding whether or not to kick somebody off stage before you even heard the end of their bit? Like, what if it comes back around? Sometimes the whole point is to, anger people and then make them happy. Either way, I just thought this is the least creative idea I've ever heard. This is like anti-art, anti-creativity. This is like taking... It's word policing to its utmost, and the fact that people dig it and think it's awesome, quite frankly, scares the shit out of me, because this younger generation is just gonna give it all away, man. Like, they don't understand that. It's almost like this younger generation kind of thinks like, if you just tell pit bulls never to bite people, eventually no one's ever going to get bit by a pit bull. It's like, do you understand that pit bulls are fucking pit bulls and they're going to bite people no matter what? You can tell them all fucking day and night not to, but every now and then they're just going to go crazy and fucking bite somebody. Like, you cannot protect people from bad feelings 24 hours a day. People have some responsibility in their own life to take care of things and deal with things that are happening to them. But mainly, what bothers me about it is it's just not good for these young comics' development. And I would guarantee, I was not at this show in LA, and I don't know that much about it, but I would be willing to bet that white males were the ones who were lit the most, that black males were lit the second most, but it took longer to light them than the white males. And there's all types of little racisms happening within this whole apparently progressive and fucking awesome, great thing that they're doing. Just depresses the living fucking hell out of me when I think about it, because this comedy shit is my favorite thing in the goddamn world, and doing it is my favorite thing in the world, and it makes me so fucking happy to do stand-up comedy. And when it's threatened like this and it's becoming so bad, I'm afraid about stand-up comedy, because shitty comics are becoming famous even though they're not that funny. And I know people have always been able to say that, like, Dane Cook's not funny, but it's like, yeah, but Dane Cook at least could fill an arena. It's like, there's famous comics who they're not even killing in their own specials. Like, you watch the specials and you're like, those are B+ plus laughs. Those aren't A laughs. Those are B plus laughs. Those are I got this ticket for free and a fucking warm-up comic made me laugh. Laugh. And this fucking comic's just being shoved down my throat because this is what the industry thinks I want right now. And those fucking kind of comics are often the ones that are pushing political agendas and shit. And, you know, I heard from a friend of mine today that there's some sort of controversy in the New York comedy scene about Dave Chappelle. People don't know where they stand on Dave Chappelle and his transgender fucking jokes. Fucking jokes. I would love that shit. And that's why I'm so excited to see Bill Burr's special when it comes out, because he's pushing that envelope. The point is pushing it back where it belongs, which is to where it was. How we're fucking regressing, I don't understand. And I'm not saying that this is the only type of comedy I want to see. I want everyone to have their space. I want the alternative people, even the fucking political people. I want everyone to have their chance to succeed in this shit and to do it. Everyone should have their chance. But I don't think people who just don't talk about subjects that make you feel warm and fuzzy all over, people who maybe push you a little bit when they're on stage and maybe like make you get out of your comfort zone a little bit on stage, I don't think those type of comedians should fucking become extinct all of a sudden. It's bullshit. It's fucking terrible. All right, enough of that. Let's end on a positive note here. I did a show at Fenway fucking Park. One of my big dreams, another one of my big dreams in stand-up comedy came true. And thanks to Jimmy Dunn, like many of my big dreams in comedy have come true. Thanks to him. But there was an ALS fundraiser going on at Fenway. I'd known about it for a couple weeks because of the promotion. I was sad I wasn't on it, but there were some great comics on it, and I was like, I get it. But then a fucking brutal, horrible snowstorm happened, and a bunch of guys from out of town couldn't make it, and I live in Boston, near Fenway Park, and I got to perform there at night upstairs in, like, you know, the luxury area. And I did something I'll probably never, ever get to do again, which was just drive to Fenway Park, pull up in front, park, get out, walk 5 steps inside, and perform stand-up comedy. I doubt I'll ever do that again. It was pretty goddamn cool. And met Tom Caron from Nesson. Really cool guy. It's just cool to meet people you've watched 16,000 hours of during Red Sox games and have them listen to you do comedy. It wasn't quite as exciting as Bill Burr, but it was pretty cool. And it was just cool to be in Fenway right after a blizzard in the middle of winter and look at that, see it with your own eyes, see all that snow on the field over all the seats. I took a picture of my brother's season tickets, sent it to him, and it was really cool. And I'd like to thank the Red Sox and Nesson and Jimmy Dunn and all those guys for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun. Saw Kenny the Viper Rogerson, hadn't seen him in a while, and it was a good time out there. I saw a movie which was like the worst fucking movie I've ever I haven't seen a movie so bad that I wanted to talk about it in a while, but Downsizing with Matt Damon was one of the worst movies I've seen in fucking 10 years. This movie was like... This movie is also a good example of how like lame people are. It was like it didn't even know whether it was a movie or like a Facebook post about how people should be nicer to each other. It was just so lame. It sucked dick. And the whole point of the movie, the whole reason I saw it was because I wanted to see how they shrunk people down and like what their stuff looked like, and they just basically didn't change anything. They just lived in the same world. Like I was like, oh, the cars will look like miniature little cars, and it'll look like they're living in dollhouses, and things are gonna look, the sets will look so cool. And it was like, nah, they just shot it in regular places, and we're like, oh, everything's small here like us. Terrible fucking movie. All right, I'm going to start wrapping it up because I got to go in and do this show. I wanted to beg you guys to donate some money to the podcast. This podcast has not been generating much money lately because I haven't been doing any ads in a while, and the donations have been so-so because it's been the holiday season. But now it's over. So if you feel like donating, go over to willnoon.com, click the donate button or go to the podcast section. You can donate from there. Also, I got CDs on iTunes and stuff like that. You can support the podcast that way by buying CDs or T-shirts. Also available at willnoonan.com or prowrestlingtees.com. Not to mention, just added a bunch of show dates to the calendar at willnoonan.com/calendar so you can come see me do some shows. I got some cool ones coming up, doing the Chaz and AJ show in New Haven, Connecticut, a couple weeks, doing a big old theater here in Boston in April, but obviously a lot of stuff. Some theaters up in New Hampshire with Gallman. Check out all the dates. I hope you guys enjoyed the HP crossovers. Please, subscribe to those shows. Let them know that the New Enthusiast Army is still around. And yeah, man, hope you're enjoying 2018. This is the first one. We're back. So thank you guys for listening. It's been real. No one told you they love you. I do. Peace out. Test. Fucking down Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Pretty good. 3 2 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good fuck. Peter Parker. All right. 3 2 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That's me. Slow rolling beginning today. How are you guys? I'm in the fucking car. I'm right here on Beacon Street in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm across from the Heinz Convention Center. I'm outside of McGreevy's Pub. Is this fucking Beacon Street or Boylston Street? Do you want to start this off on a fucking mistake? Is that how we want to do it? Oh shit. I'm gonna start over because this was some weak sauce. 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1. This is 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Ba 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 ba. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically. Fucking cocksucker. So much shit in my fucking mouth. Whew. All right. 3 2 1 3 2 1. Good morning, good morning, good morning.